Welcome, dear traveler. Tonight you will journey with Elliot to a small apothecary hidden in a snowy mountain village. There you will witness the quiet ritual of preparing a healing tea, a remedy for restless nights. Let the sounds and warmth of this sanctuary guide you into peaceful sleep. Asterisk, the snowfall is heavy tonight. Elliot walks slowly through the narrow streets of the mountain village, his boots crunching softly against the fresh powder. Each step leaves a clean impression that fills almost immediately with new snow. The flakes are large and soft, landing on his wool coat without sound, melting slowly against the dark fabric. The village is small, perhaps 20 buildings in total, scattered along the slope of the mountain like stones placed by a careful hand. Most of the windows are dark now, the hour late. The residents already settled into their homes for the long winter night. But here and there, a warm glow escapes from behind thick curtains, a promise of fire and safety within. Elliot pulls his scarf higher against his face. The cold is not bitter, not harsh, but persistent. It settles into his bones with the patient weight of winter itself. His breath creates small clouds that vanish into the falling snow. One after another, a rhythm as steady as his heartbeat. He is tired. Not the exhaustion of labor, but the deeper weariness that comes from too many nights of fractured sleep, of waking in darkness with thoughts that circle like birds who have forgotten their migration path. His body aches for true rest, the kind that releases every muscle, that lets the mind finally go quiet. Ahead, through the veil of snow, he sees it. The shop is smaller than the others, set slightly back from the path, as if it prefers not to be noticed. It is built from dark wood, weathered and honest, with a steep roof designed to shed the heavy mountain snow. From the stone chimney, a thin column of smoke rises, pale gray against the darker sky, carrying with it the promise of warmth. A single lantern hangs beside the door, its flame protected by thick glass. The light is golden, steady, unwavering, despite the wind that occasionally gusts down from the peaks above. In that light, Elliot can just make out the carved wooden sign that hangs above the entrance, the Winter Apothecary. The letters are simple, carved deep into the wood and filled with what might be gold leaf. Though it is hard to tell in the dim light and falling snow. Beneath the name, a symbol, a mortar and pestle crossed with a sprig of some herb he cannot identify from this distance. Elliot has been here once before, months ago in autumn when the village was still accessible by the main road. He had come seeking a remedy for his sleeplessness, and the apothecary had prepared something that granted him 3 nights of deep, dreamless rest. But the effect had faded, as such things do, and the journey back had been delayed by early storms that closed the passes. Now, finally, he has returned. He reaches the door and pauses for just a moment, letting the snow settle on his shoulders, listening to the profound silence that snow creates. It muffles everything, absorbs every sound, until the world feels wrapped in wool. Even his own breathing seems distant, as if it belongs to someone else. The door handle is iron, cold even through his glove. He turns it slowly, feeling the mechanism release with a soft click that seems too loud in the hushed evening. Then he steps inside, into warmth and light in the most extraordinary sense. The door closes behind him with a gentle sound, a whisper of wood against wood, and the storm is immediately muted, reduced to a soft presence rather than an enveloping force. The warmth reaches him first. It radiates from a small iron stove in the corner, its door slightly ajar, to reveal the orange glow of burning wood within. The heat is not overwhelming, not the aggressive warmth of a fire built too high, but something gentler, more persistent. It seeps into his cold cheeks, his frozen fingers, melting the tension that winter had drawn across his shoulders. Then come the scents. They arrive not all at once, but in layers, each one revealing itself as his senses adjust to this new environment. First, the woody smoke from the stove, clean and resinous, carrying notes of pine and perhaps cedar. Then, beneath that, something floral and soothing. Lavender, certainly its distinctive sweetness impossible to mistake. But not just lavender. There's chamomile as well, softer, more subtle, like sunshine dried and preserved. As he removes his gloves and unwinds his scarf, more scents emerge. Rose petals, their fragrance delicate and slightly melancholic. Mint, sharp and awakening. A bright note among the softer tones. Something earthy and grounding. Perhaps valerian root or vetiver. Citrus, dried lemon peel, adding a clean lightness to the heavier bass notes. The shop is small, perhaps 20 feet across and 30 deep, with a low ceiling supported by dark wooden beams. But every inch of wall space is utilized with careful intention. Shelves line the room from floor to ceiling, and upon those shelves rest hundreds of glass jars. The jars are of varying sizes, some no larger than his fist, others substantial enough to hold several pounds of contents. They are made of thick glass, mostly clear, though some have a slight amber or green tint that softens the appearance of what they contain. Each jar has a ground glass stopper, fitted precisely to prevent moisture and air from degrading the precious materials within. The light in the shop comes from several sources. The stove provides its warm orange glow. 2 oil lamps hang from the beams, their wicks trimmed low, casting a golden illumination that does not reach into corners but creates pools of visibility where they are most needed. And there, on the counter near the back, a thick candle burns in a brass holder, its flame tall and steady. Elliot steps deeper into the shop, his boots leaving small puddles of melted snow on the warm wooden floor. The boards creak softly beneath his weight, a comfortable sound. The voice of a building that has settled into itself over many years. The counter runs along the back wall, a solid piece of work made from a single thick plank of some dark wood, polished smooth by years of use. Behind it, more shelves, these ones seemingly reserved for the apothecary's current projects. Elliot can see several mortar of different sizes, their pestles resting beside them. Scales both large and delicate. Measuring spoons made of horn and wood. Funnels. Strainers. Small cloth bags, tied with string. But the apothecary himself is not here. Instead, on the counter, directly in the center, where it cannot be missed, sits a piece of paper weighted down by a smooth river stone. Elliot approaches slowly, taking his time, letting his eyes adjust to the warm light, letting his body continue to thaw from the cold. He notices details as he moves. A dried bundle of herbs hanging from one of the beams, their leaves still intact, dusty purple and green. A collection of small bottles filled with what might be tinctures or essential oils, their glass stoppers sealed with wax. A thick book, its leather cover worn soft, lying open to a page covered in careful handwriting and small botanical illustrations. He reaches the counter and picks up the note. The handwriting is precise, each letter formed with care, the lines straight and even. Elliot, it reads. I hoped you would return before the deep winter made travel impossible. I have been called to the village on the eastern slope. A difficult birth, and they need medicines I must prepare fresh. I will return tomorrow, but I know you need rest tonight. I have left everything you require. The ritual is simple. Trust the process. Trust your hands. The shop is yours until morning. Rest well. Beneath the words, a list. 3 measures of dried chamomile flowers. 2 measures of lavender blossoms. 1 measure of lemon balm. Leaves. Half a measure of passion flower. A small piece of dried ginger root. 1 teaspoon of honey. And beneath the list, a final instruction. The kettle is on the stove. The water is hot. The mortar is clean. Begin when you are ready. Elliot reads the note twice, then sets it down carefully, feeling something release in his chest. Trust. The apothecary trusts him to do this himself. To perform this small ritual of preparation, there is kindness in that trust, a gift perhaps greater than the remedy itself. He removes his coat and hangs it on a peg by the door. His scarf and gloves follow. Beneath, he wears a simple shirt and vest, both suitable for the warmth of the shop. He rolls up his sleeves to his elbows, a practical gesture, a signal to himself that he is ready to begin. The jars wait on their shelves, patient, containing their quiet treasures. It is time to begin the ritual. Elliot stands before the shelves, letting his eyes move slowly across the rows of jars. Each one is labeled in the same careful handwriting as the note. Small pieces of parchment affixed to the glass with some kind of adhesive. The labels are simple, stating only the contents. Chamomile, lavender, rose, mint, valerian, hawthorn, calendula, dozens more, perhaps 100 varieties in total, asterisk. The first ingredient is chamomile. He finds it on the 3rd shelf. A large jar filled with dried flowers that look like tiny white stars with golden centers. The jar is heavy when he lifts it from the shelf, substantial, the glass thick and cold against his palms. He carries it to the counter carefully, aware of how precious these materials are, how much labor went into their harvesting and drying. He sets the jar down with a soft thunk. The sound of glass meeting wood, solid and reassuring. The ground glass stopper fits tightly. He grasps it with both hands and pulls upward, feeling resistance at first, then a sudden release as the seal breaks. There is a soft sound, barely audible, like a breath being released. Then the scent emerges, stronger now, uncontained, sweet, gentle, with that distinctive honey-like quality that chamomile possesses, slightly apple-like. Warm and inviting, Elliot closes his eyes for a moment, just breathing, letting the scent fill his lungs, his mind, his tired body. On the counter sits a wooden measuring scoop, its bowl smoothed by countless uses. He dips it into the jar, hearing the soft rustle of the dried flowers, a sound like paper being crumpled very gently, or autumn leaves being disturbed by a slow wind. The flowers are light, almost weightless, and they fill the scoop easily. *3 measures, the note said. He scoops carefully. Each time tilting the jar slightly, hearing that gentle rustle. Watching the delicate flowers tumble into the scoop. 1, 2, 3. He places each measure into a wide ceramic bowl that sits ready beside the mortar. Another preparation by the thoughtful apothecary. The chamomile settles into the bowl, creating a small mound of cream and gold. The flowers still mostly intact despite their dryness. He returns the stopper to the jar, pressing it down firmly until he feels it seat properly. Then returns the jar to its place on the shelf. Next, lavender. The lavender jar is smaller, the flowers more compact, deeper in color. When he removes the stopper, the scent is immediately more assertive. Sweeter, more perfumed, with that distinctive floral sharpness that can be almost medicinal in its intensity. But dried and aged as these flowers are, the sharpness is mellowed, leaving mostly the sweet, calming heart of the scent. The flowers make a different sound when he scoops them. Crisper, drier, a faint crackling, as the tiny blossoms compress and release under the gentle pressure of the scoop. 2 measures. He works slowly, deliberately, finding a meditative quality in the repetition, the simple action performed with care. The lavender joins the chamomile in the bowl, adding purple depths to the pale gold. Lemon balm is next, and he searches the shelves until he finds it, a jar of crumbled green leaves that release a bright, citrus mint scent when exposed to the air. Fresh, awakening, yet somehow simultaneously calming. 1 measure. The leaves crinkle as he scoops them, a sound like tissue paper, delicate and crisp. Then passion flower, which he finds after a moment of searching, the jar smaller still. containing intricate dried structures that were once flowers of remarkable complexity. Half a measure only, the apothecary's note specified. And Elliot is careful to measure precisely. Using a smaller scoop he finds hanging from a hook beneath the counter. Finally, the ginger root. This requires more effort. The piece in the jar is dried hard, golden brown, its surface rough and fibrous. He retrieves it and a small grater, also hanging from a hook, clearly intended for this purpose. He grates slowly, letting the root rasp against the metal teeth. Watching the powder fall like fine sawdust, smelling the sharp, warming spice that emerges. So different from the floral and herbal notes already gathered, just a small amount. Enough to add warmth without overwhelming the gentler ingredients. Now comes the part that requires the most attention. The most presence, the mortar sits ready on the counter. It is made of stone, heavy, carved from a single piece of granite. The interior is smooth, polished by years of use until it gleams softly in the candlelight. The pestle is equally substantial, shaped to fit the hand comfortably. Its working end ground perfectly flat, Elliot transfers the mixed herbs from the ceramic bowl to the mortar. Taking his time, making sure not to spill even a single flower, the herbs pile loosely in the stone vessel. A colorful mixture of cream, gold, purple, and green, with the fine dust of ginger settled among them. He picks up the pestle, feeling its weight, its coolness. The way it sits naturally in his grip, then he begins to grind. At first, he presses gently, letting the weight of the pestle do most of the work. Crushing the dried herbs slowly between stone and stone. The sound is soft but distinct, a grinding whisper, the voice of plant matter being broken down, cell walls rupturing. Releasing their volatile oils and essees. The chamomile flowers compress first, their structure the most delicate. He hears them give way with tiny crackling sounds, feels the texture change under the pestle as they transform from distinct flowers into fragments, then into increasingly fine pieces. The lavender is more resistant, its blossoms denser, but they too yield gradually, releasing more of their perfume as their structure breaks down. The scent in the room intensifies, becomes richer, more complex, as if the act of grinding is not just breaking the herbs, but releasing their very souls. Elliot finds a rhythm. Press, twist, slightly, lift, press again. The pestle moves in a small circular pattern, ensuring every part of the herb mixture is processed evenly. The sound continues, steady and hypnotic, the grinding punctuated occasionally by a slightly sharper crack as a particularly dense piece yields. His shoulders relax as he works. His breathing deepens, matching the rhythm of the pestle. There is something profoundly satisfying about this simple task. This ancient action that humans have performed for thousands of years. Preparing medicines, preparing food, grinding grain and herbs and spices, connecting through repetitive motion to something fundamental about survival and care. The mixture gradually transforms. What began as distinct flowers and leaves becomes a coarse powder, then a finer powder, the colors blending, the textures merging. The textures merging. The chamomile's cream, the lavender's purple, the lemon balm's green, all mixing into a soft, muted palette, earthy and gentle. He grinds for perhaps 5 minutes, perhaps longer. Time feels different here, stretched and softened like honey warming in the sun. The stove crackles softly in the corner. The candle flame dances slightly in an air current he cannot feel. Outside, the snow continues to fall, but it seems impossibly distant. As if it belongs to another world entirely. Finally, when the mixture has reached a consistency that feels right, though he cannot say exactly how he knows, Elliot sets down the pestle. The herbs lie in the mortar, transformed, unified. Ready now for the water on the stove. The kettle waits. It is made of copper, burnished to a warm glow, with a curved handle wrapped in leather to protect against the heat. When Elliot lifts it, he can feel the warmth through the leather, can hear the water inside, still hot, moving slightly with a gentle liquid sound. He has selected a cup from the shelf, a wide ceramic vessel with a simple glaze, cream-colored with a blue rim. It sits on the counter beside the mortar, waiting. He transfers the ground herbs from the mortar to the cup, tapping the pestle gently against the edge to release the last clinging particles. The powder falls into the cup with a soft whisper, settling into a loose layer across the bottom dot. Then he lifts the kettle and begins to pour. The water emerges from the spout in a smooth stream, clear and steaming, carrying its own heat scent, mineral and pure. It hits the herbs with a soft hiss, and immediately the transformation begins. Steam rises, carrying with it the concentrated essence of everything he has prepared. The chamomile, the lavender, the lemon balm, the passion flower, the ginger, all of their volatile oils and aromatic compounds released by the heat. Made soluble, infusing into the water, the scent is extraordinary, more complete than anything he has experienced so far. It is soothing yet enlivening, calming yet present, with layers that reveal themselves progressively. The sweetness of chamomile and lavender forms the foundation. The brightness of lemon balm lifts through the middle. The warmth of ginger provides depth. And beneath it all, something earthy and grounding, the mineral note of the water itself, the stone of the mortar, the wood of the shop, all combining into a single, unified experience. Elliot fills the cup 3/4 full, then returns the kettle to the stove. Asterisk. The herbs swirl in the hot water, releasing color, turning the clear liquid to pale gold, then deeper amber with tiny particles suspended throughout. Catching the candlelight, glowing softly, one final ingredient remains. The honey sits in a small ceramic pot with a wooden lid. When Elliot removes the lid, he finds a wooden dipper resting inside, its handle carved with a spiral pattern that helps the honey cling as it is lifted. The honey is dark, almost brown, thick, and slow-moving, with the deep, complex sweetness that comes from wildflowers gathered across an entire season. He lifts the dipper, watching the honey flow from its spiraled surface back into the pot. A thick stream that coils upon itself, viscous and golden brown. When the flow slows to a drip, he holds the dipper over the cup and lets the remaining honey fall into the steaming tea. It sits on the surface for a moment, a glossy dome, before slowly beginning to dissolve, threads of sweetness spiraling down through the amber liquid, blending, enriching, rounding out the sharper herbal notes with its smooth, floral depth. Elliot finds a wooden spoon and stirs gently, watching the honey incorporate fully. Seeing the steam rise in renewed waves as the movement disturbs the surface. The tea is complete. But it must steep. The apothecary's note said nothing about time, but Elliot knows from experience that these things cannot be rushed. The herbs need time to fully release their properties, to share their medicine with the water that will carry it into his body, his blood, his tired mind. He covers the cup with a small ceramic plate, trapping the steam, the precious volatile compounds that might otherwise escape into the air. Then he stands back, hands resting on the counter, and simply breathes. Asterisk. The shop seems even quieter now, if such a thing is possible. The wind outside has calmed, or perhaps he has simply stopped hearing it. His attention drawn so completely inward into this warm, fragrant sanctuary, this place of healing and rest. Elliot moves slowly around the shop as the tea steeps, not exploring exactly, but allowing himself to notice things he missed in his initial entry. A collection of mortar in graduated sizes, arranged on a shelf like a family portrait. A diagram pinned to the wall, showing the parts of some plant in careful botanical detail. A small window, its glass thick and slightly wavy, covered now with frost on the outside, reflecting the candlelight in complex patterns. Behind the counter, half hidden by a heavy curtain made of deep green wool, he finds what he was hoping for, a daybed. It is simple but inviting, built into a small alcove that makes it feel like a cave or a nest. The frame is wood, dark and solid, and upon it lies a thick mattress covered with layers of blankets. Wool mostly in shades of cream and gray and brown, heavy enough to provide substantial weight, the kind that grounds a restless body, that says through gentle pressure, "You are safe. You can rest now." A pillow waits at one end, covered in soft linen that looks clean and fresh. Despite the rustic setting, this is where the apothecary must rest between his long hours of work, his preparations and consultations, his careful measuring and mixing. This is where he retreats when the shop is quiet, when the village sleeps, when there is no one to care for but himself. And tonight, it is offered to Elliot, along with the tea, along with the trust, along with the warmth and shelter from the storm. He checks the tea. Enough time has passed. The liquid has deepened in color, now a rich amber gold, opaque with infused madder, still steaming gently despite the ceramic plate covering it. When he lifts the plate, the scent that emerges is softer now, more integrated, less sharp, as if the different ingredients have learned to speak with one voice. He carries the cup carefully to the daybed, each step deliberate, not wanting to spill a single drop. The warmth of the ceramic seeps into his palms, traveling up his arms into his chest, a promise of comfort to come. He sets the cup on a small table beside the bed, within easy reach. Then he sits on the edge of the mattress, feeling it give slightly under his weight, the blanket soft against his legs. He removes his boots, setting them neatly side by side on the floor. His vest comes next, then his shirt, leaving him in only a thin undershirt and his trousers. The air is warm enough that he does not feel cold, but cool enough that the blankets will be welcome. He swings his legs up onto the bed and settles back against the pillow, pulling the blankets over himself. They are heavy, as he expected, and the weight is immediately comforting, like being held, like being anchored to the earth beneath the shop, to the mountain beneath the village, to something old and stable and permanent. The cup waits on the table, still steaming slightly, glowing in the candlelight. Elliot reaches for it, wrapping both hands around its warmth, lifting it carefully. He blows softly across the surface, watching the steam swirl and thin, then brings the rim to his lips. The first sip is almost too hot, but he perseveres gently, letting the liquid touch his lips, his tongue, the inside of his mouth. The taste is complex, like the scent, but translated into a different language. Sweetness from the honey, earthiness from the chamomile, floral brightness from the lavender, mint citrus clarity from the lemon balm, gentle warmth from the ginger, and beneath it all something slightly bitter, grounding, from the passion flower. It is not a delicious tea in the way sweet drinks are delicious. It is a medicine, and it tastes like medicine, but not unpleasantly. It tastes like care, like intention, like something prepared with the specific purpose of bringing rest to a weary person. He drinks slowly, taking small sips, letting each one warm his throat, his chest, his stomach. Between sips, he holds the cup in his lap, feeling its warmth through the blankets, watching the small amount of steam still rising from the surface. The shop has become a cocoon, a womb of warmth and gentle light and healing scents. The stove crackles occasionally, the wood settling as it burns. The candle flame moves in its small, eternal dance. The snow outside continues to fall, but it is no longer a concern, no longer something to struggle against. It is simply weather, simply the world continuing its ancient patterns while he rests here, safe and warm. Elliot feels the tea beginning to work before he has finished the cup. It is subtle at first, a slight softening around the edges of his awareness, a gentling of the constant low-level tension that has become so familiar he barely notices it anymore. His shoulders drop slightly. His jaw unclenches. His breathing deepens without conscious effort. The herbs are moving through his system now, being absorbed, carried in his blood to his brain, to his nervous system, binding to receptors that govern sleep and wakefulness, that control the firing of neurons that determine whether his mind will race or rest. He finishes the last of the tea, feeling a few grains of herb on his tongue, tasting the final concentration of honey at the bottom of the cup. He sets the empty vessel back on the table, careful even now not to let it clatter or tip. Then he slides down further under the blankets, adjusting his position until he is lying flat, his head cradled by the pillow, his body aligned and comfortable. His eyes are heavy now, not forced, not drugged, but simply ready to close, ready to surrender to the darkness behind the lids, to the dreams that wait there, or to the absence of dreams, the deep and healing nothingness of true rest. He watches the candle flame for a moment, seeing it blur slightly as his eyes relax their focus. The golden light pulses gently, or perhaps that is his own heartbeat, slowing, steadying, falling into the rhythm of sleep. The chamomile wraps around his mind like soft cloth, gentle and soothing. The lavender adds its voice, sweet and calm, singing a wordless lullaby. The lemon balm lifts the edges of anxiety, preventing them from catching, from pulling him back toward wakefulness. The passion flower works deeper in older parts of his brain, quieting the vigilance that has kept him alert through too many nights. The ginger warms him from within, a gentle hearth in his center, radiating comfort. And the honey simply sweetens it all, makes the medicine go down, makes the journey into sleep feel not like surrender, but like coming home. Elliot's breathing slows, deepens, becomes rhythmic and automatic, no longer requiring any attention from his conscious mind. His body grows heavier, sinking into the mattress, into the blankets, into the earth itself, as if gravity has increased its pull, as if he is becoming part of the shop, part of the mountain, part of the sleeping world outside where snow covers everything in silence. The sounds of the shop begin to fade, growing distant, muffled, unimportant. The crackle of the fire becomes a memory of a sound rather than the sound itself. The candle flame becomes a point of light seen through increasing depths of darkness, receding like a star viewed from a ship sailing away from shore. His thoughts slow, lose their coherence, become fragments, images without context, feelings without names. There is no anxiety in this dissolution, no fear, only relief. Only the profound, bone-deep relief of finally being allowed to rest. The apothecary's shop holds him gently in its wooden walls, its herb-scented air, its warmth. The tea does its work in his blood, in his brain, in his tired soul. The blankets provide their weight, their soft insistence that he need not move, need not do anything but lie here and let sleep take him. And sleep does take him gently, like a tide that has turned, that lifts a small boat and carries it out to deeper, calmer waters. He does not fight it. He does not even notice the exact moment when waking ends and sleeping begins. That threshold is crossed so smoothly, so naturally, that it feels like no crossing at all, simply a continuation, a deepening, a descending into waters that have always been waiting to receive him. The candle burns lower, but it does not go out. Not yet. It will burn through the night, keeping its small vigil, its offering of light in the darkness. Outside, the snow falls steadily, covering the village, covering the path Elliot walked, covering the whole mountain in its white blanket, its silence, its peace, asterisk. And inside the winter apothecary, in the warmth and the herb-scented dimness, Elliot sleeps. He sleeps deeply, dreamlessly, held by the medicine, by the shop, by the mountain itself. He sleeps the way a body is meant to sleep, completely, trustingly, without reservation or resistance. He sleeps, and in sleeping, he begins to heal. The tea has done its work. The ritual has achieved its purpose. The winter night stretches ahead, long and dark and blessedly, wonderfully quiet, and there is nothing he needs to do but rest. Nothing at all. Just rest. Just sleep. Just this warm, safe darkness, and the promise that morning will come when it comes, but not before he has had all the rest he needs, all the healing sleep his tired body has been craving. The shop keeps its vigil. The herbs have shared their medicine. The apothecary, though absent, has provided everything necessary for this healing, and Elliot sleeps on. Deep in the winter night, deep in the mountain's embrace, deep in the kind of rest that makes everything else possible, that renews and restores, that reminds the body and mind what peace feels like. The steam from the empty cup has long since faded. The herbs have given everything they had to give. The honey has sweetened the medicine and made it kind. And sleep, gentle sleep, merciful sleep, has claimed its willing guest, has wrapped him in its ancient comfort, has promised him the gift of dreams or the gift of nothing at all. Whichever he needs most. The world outside continues its patterns. Snow falls. Wind moves through the peaks. The village sleeps in its scattered houses, each person in their own bed, their own dreams, their own private darkness. But here, in the winter apothecary, in this small sanctuary of healing and care, Elliot has found exactly what he came for. Rest. True rest. The kind that sinks into bones and settles into the soul, that releases every tension and answers every unspoken need. The tea steeps in his blood. The blankets hold him close. The shop breathes around him, its wood settling, its walls standing firm against the winter cold. And he sleeps, and sleeps, and sleeps, descending ever deeper into the healing dark, into the mercy of true rest, into the gift that the apothecary has given him through his careful notes, his prepared ingredients, his trust that Elliot could perform the ritual himself and find his way to this peace. The candle flame grows smaller. The fire in the stove settles to glowing coals. The night deepens toward its center, that point of maximum darkness before the long, slow return toward dawn. But dawn is hours away yet, and there is no need to think of it. No need to think of anything at all. Only sleep, only rest, only this perfect, complete surrender to the body's deepest need. Met at last in this warm, fragrant sanctuary, this place of healing, this winter apothecary, where the medicine is prepared with care and offered with kindness and received with gratitude and trust. Sleep well. Elliot. Sleep well, dear traveler. The mountain holds you. The herbs have blessed you. The winter night embraces you in its ancient, healing dark, and you are safe and warm and finally, wonderfully, blessedly at rest.